We're in part 4 now of Pregnancy and Human Development, page 1074, and we've arrived to consider now some developmental aspects. And here is the fetus, and at this point in time, you can see that we're getting nutrition from the placenta. Here's sort of an up-close and personal experience of that. And so this is an important detail here where we can see that mom is supplying the necessary nutrients, and that here is the umbilical devices right here, and you can see that coming toward the baby, toward the fetus, we have nutrients flowing from the mom. So there's going to be oxygen, of course, as well as the many essential nutrients that we discussed in prior times in the course so far. So there's going to be glucose, essential amino acids, essential fatty acids. There's going to be vitamins, minerals, and there's also going to be the immune system present, so the immunoglobulin G, gamma globulin, that's already present in mom's blood based on her immune system. All of that immunity will then also flow to the baby and protect the fetus in utero during development. So let me just sort of back off here for a moment to note that early on, this is the individual right here, right? So that's the bilayer becoming the embryo, and everything else here is extra embryonic, it's referred to. And so they do have some discussion of what's going on here, particularly like what's a yolk sac and why do we have one. And she notes here that in many species, the yolk sac is the main source of nutrition for the embryo. You can think of chickens in that way and consider a chicken egg. But she says then that the human egg, as it were, contains very little yolk. And so the nutrition and the nutritive function have been instead transferred to the placenta. So we're not going to go through gestation as eggs hatching. Hatching already happened so that we could participate in the life of the uterus. And then there's implantation in the endometrium, and then life connects with mom very directly because of the nature of how placentation works. So again, here is the flow of blood into the lacuna here, which is an area in which there can be exchange. Note that the baby, or the fetus in this case, is exchanging waste products and taking on nutrients. So there is the nutrient uptake here in the fetal vein, which is moving to the liver actually, and then there's the fetal artery, which is oxygen poor and is returning waste products, including CO2, to the lacuna over here, which mom then picks up as venous blood. So mom's venous blood then takes that away. And so she's providing nutrients for herself as well as for her infant. And then she's also cleaning cells of her own body and also cleaning the metabolites of cells that are developing in the fetal development. So she's eating, shall we say, for two, and also excreting for two in both cases. So, and one has to also bear in mind that this is an individual who is of a certain size and capacity and in a state of steady state homeostasis for her own well-being, and then suddenly she's another certain number of pounds that she's taken on in the developing individual, as well as the increasing size of the uterus. So maybe between 25 and 40 pounds of extra tissue is involved here. And so this can be a significant thing if the individual starts out as a 5 foot tall individual versus a 5'11" individual. All right, so that whatever it's going to be, 30 or 35 pounds, something in that range, is going to have to be mediated by the mother's body. And there are problems that occasionally occur that have to do with high blood pressure and also with gestational diabetes. There's a number of challenges that you have to consider, and I wanted to sort of have that in your mind right from the get-go here of nutrient and waste product exchange. So that's a lot of extra work for the mom. Okay, so then we're in this status right here where we're going from a bilayer. And let's take a look. Here's the individual now. We're a little flatworm at this point, a bilayer. There is this primitive streak right there is what it's called, primitive streak. And we come over here, and here we have a little cross-section of this. They're showing us where the cross-section is occurring through the embryo right there. Okay, so here's our primitive streak, and it's going to change shape a little bit, and we're going to get the release of new cells. So that's the first thing that happens here, and we're sort of tiptoeing. I've sort of snuck you into embryology here. You probably didn't know you were going there, but I just snuck you in. So once we get the 3 layers, they already define themselves as such. So this outer little layer right here is called the ectoderm. It is the fate of the ectoderm to become the skin and the entire nervous system, central and peripheral nervous system. That's the fate of the ectoderm. Here we have the formation here, first of all, of endoderm. Endoderm comes first. That was the first thing to emerge here, followed by mesoderm. So the endoderm emerges, and that's going to be the interior lining of major organs in the digestive and respiratory system. Okay, and then we have mesoderm. Mesoderm is the entire skeletal process, including bony structure, muscles, connective tissues, and interestingly, blood, of course, is part of that because it's formed in the bone as a connective tissue. It's our liquid tissue. In addition to that, the gonads and the kidneys are here. So let's review that. We have muscles, connective tissue, of course, bones, and then we have kidney and gonads. Okay, kidney and gonads are very closely associated in terms of development, and one of the things that's nice to know about embryology is that clinically, as adults, we sometimes manifest in ways that correlate here. So, for instance, if somebody's really, really nervous, and you know that the skin is actually forming from the same tissue as the brain, then stress, from a psychological point of view, could be expressed on the skin in a manner like hives, for instance. So there's a connection. Oftentimes, as the kidney declines, the gonads, the ovaries, or the testes decline. So sexual function and kidney function sometimes travel together in terms of their vividness and their decline with age and so on. Okay, so we're going to get a look at a slightly different view in which we have this folding aspect here. Okay, and we get the sort of elongated view of the embryo. Okay, the yolk sac down there, which will not really play a role for nutrition as noted. All right, so the first thing that we'll go over each layer step by step, and we'll see what it all means. Okay.